Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock, January 23rd. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioner Williams, will you please lead us in prayer?
Join with me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that you have granted us. Father, be with us as we do the business of Mills County. God, direct us in all of our actions. Father, bless our land with some rain. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, good morning, everyone. We have a quorum and we will go to number 2, review and act on minutes of January the 9th, 2023. And regarding that, there was one small on number 10. I think his name's Pritchard, Pritchard, just a small misprint there instead of Pritchard. Okay.
There's another one on precinct 3, but it's just a typo. It's all road material,
15.
not loading material. 15.
Hey, what's it supposed to be?
All road material. It's a typo.
Thank you. I'll get this fixed.
I'll make a motion to approve the minute.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Parton to approve the minutes.
I'll second them.
And a second by Commissioner Head. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Let's have it. Number 3, audience with individuals. I think we have several that may be speaking at their allotted time. Okay. So we will let these individuals speak when their time comes up. Number 4, consider an act on approving accounts payable.
One thing to say on the road and bridge deal, you said I paid the $14.50 to get the Mack truck inspected and the tags, because we've been waiting on that thing for ever since we owned it. So I just went ahead and paid it. And they reimbursed me for it, because otherwise it's gonna have to wait till now. The Mack truck.
So precinct, it's a road and bridge.
It's road and bridge, right? But we've probably been waiting to get that done for 6 or 8 months.
Okay. Okay, anything else?
The only one that kind of stands out is inmate meals. A little higher than normal, but other than that, I haven't seen anything. I make a motion that we approve the accounts payable.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Williams on the accounts payable. I'll second the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Let's have it. Okay, number 5, consider an act on burn ban. I've got a new policy where I contact all 4 fire chiefs, and everyone knows how dry and windy it's gotten lately. And I contacted all 4 fire chiefs last Wednesday, and they're all in agreement that we need to put a burn ban back on. I'll go down the line. Commissioner Wright, do you have any comments? Okay. Commissioner Head?
No comment.
Commissioner Parton?
Yeah, we'll probably get 3 inches of rain.
I hope we do.
But we'll take it if we do. It's dry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny that every time we put the burn ban on the agenda, there's a chance of rain.
Yes, we do have a chance tomorrow. I hope it rains all week, but we've seen how that happens sometimes.
I agree with you. I reached out to several people too, and they're all in favor of putting it on, so I in turn will make a motion that we put the burn ban back on.
Okay, got a motion to put it on by Commissioner Williams. Got a second by Commissioner Head. All those in favor of putting the burn ban back on, say aye. Any other discussion? I think I do need to read the order prohibiting outdoor burning, since there's been some confusion in the past, what we can and cannot do. So whereas the Commissioner Court finds that circumstances present in all the unincorporated area of the county create a public safety hazard that would be exacerbated by outdoor burning. It is hereby ordered by the Commissioners Court, Mills County, that all outdoor burning is prohibited in the unincorporated area of the county for 90 days from the date of adoption of this order, unless the restrictions are terminated based on a determination made by the Texas Forest Service or this court. This order is adopted pursuant to Local Government Code 352.081. This order does not prohibit outdoor burning activities related to public health and safety that are authorized by the Texas Natural Resource Commission for 1, firefighter training, 2, public utility, natural gas pipeline or mining operations, 3, planting or harvesting of agricultural crops, or 4, burns are conducted by a prescribed burn manager certified under section 153.048. Further, this order does not prohibit burning in a burn barrel, provided said barrel is equipped with a screen cover with spacings no larger than 1 square inch. A possible fine, if the people violate this, can be a Class C misdemeanor up to $500. It is ordered by the Commissioners Court, Mills County, that should circumstances warrant, as determined by the county judge with the concurrence of 1 county commissioner and a volunteer fire chief, this order may be rescinded for some or all of the county, either temporarily or permanently, without a vote of the full Commissioners Court. Finally, it is ordered that the county judge may grant specific exemptions to this order to the Mills County Prescribed Burn Association for burns approved, conducted, and managed by the association. So this is adopted the 23rd day of January 2023 by unanimous vote of the Commissioners Court, and it will be effective at 12 p.m. today. So anyway, I'll get this signed, Sonia, after we finish. Okay, so going on to number 6. Presentation with Justin Reyes with TxDOT. Justin, good morning. If you'll come up here to the speaker, please. Justin is going to speak with us regarding a bridge and a little work. And Justin, good morning. Justin, you're from Brownwood, correct?
Yes, sir, I am. Can I go ahead and pass this to you?
You sure can. And Justin, your title, again, you're one of the, engineer, what's your title with TxDOT?
So I'm the bridge coordinator.
Yeah,
for
bridge.
TxDOT for Brownwood District.
Okay. Bridge coordinator for Brownwood District. Okay.
Yes, the Brownwood District for TxDOT stretches from Stevens County and Breckenridge, and it goes all the way down to Lancaster. So it covers 9 counties. And I'm the bridge coordinator, so I oversee a lot of the bridge inspections. Bridge inspections are done on national bridge inventory bridges that are over 20 feet long. And those bridges are inspected every 2 years. And there's an inspection report that's generated. I look over the bridges that are on the highway, and I also look at the bridges that are on the county roads. And so that's why I'm here today to talk about the county road bridges and the options that there are for those. Those bridges are called off-system bridges. The bridges on the highway are called on-system bridges. So as I said, bridges are inspected every 2 years. And I mainly came here to talk about the Highway Bridge Program, which is a federally and state funded bridge program to help replace bridges that are structurally deficient and have lower scores. And those bridges can be funded through the federally funded, to where the federal will pay about 80% of the bridge, the state will pay about 10% of the bridge, and the local government, whether it be a county or a city agency, they would cover 10% of that. And the local government doesn't always have to pay a cash value of that 10%. There's ways around that. The way around that is through equivalent match projects, or some people call it in-kind work. So what it means is local government, they go to their bridges in the area and they do improvements to help with drainage, improvements just to work on the structure, things like that to help improve their overall bridges. And they put a value on that, and that value could represent the 10%. And then TxDOT will help organize the replacement of another bridge that the county needs to replace. That basically covers it, and if you have any questions, commissioners will judge on that.
Okay, this is in Commissioner Parton's precinct 1 bridge in question, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, we pretty well have talked about it. It's just on the county side. We reviewed it up here, you know, to the fact that if we can, it'd be better for us to do the in-kind work rather than be out the $84,000. I guess the other thing, talked to Summer or the treasurer, and then I talked to Justin. It does, irregardless one way or the other, we've got to get it set up. But the work really don't have to be done in this budget cycle. I think he told me you have 3 years to
Yes, sir.
do your in-kind work. So, but it has to be approved and everything first.
So, basically, you take the document examples that I gave you, throw those out. I'll take those and I'll create a AFA, which is an advanced funding agreement between the local government and TxDOT. And what we have to get that executed. And it basically says that we're going to do some projects to help cover that. And once both sides agree on it, then I'll let you know, yes, we can proceed to do those improvements. And you do have 3 years to get those completed once that AFA is executed.
But it has to be approved and executed before the bridge project will even.
Yeah.
Start.
Yes, sir. And then.
No, go ahead.
I forgot something else. So, also for other bridges besides this bridge that we wanting to place here, bridges must be proposed in a bridge site, like a bridge candidate kind of proposal thing, and those are done every year. And so what you do is you let me know which bridge you're interested in long term to get replaced, and I have to propose those to the board at TxDOT.
Okay.
And once we get this.
I think we have another bridge in our precinct that's already on that list, don't we?
This is the only one that I have on the list right now. So.
Just my question is, explain the in-kind work a little bit more, and regarding in-kind work, it can be in any precinct in the county, just so it's in Mills County, correct? That would apply to this.
Yes, sir. It
And-
could be in town, it could be in the county, it just needs to be in those counties.
And explain just further about the in-kind work that you're referring to.
Okay, so in-kind work could be improving drainage. So say cross drainage. So say you have a county road that water drains down the sides and it's going to flow through the bridge, right? So you could install a culvert, just a tin horn up road from that to help improve the drainage, so there's not as much water goes through the bridge. You could add rocks and gravel and things like that around the bridge, around the embankments,
Okay.
to help prevent erosion under the bridge and things like that. So it's things to make the bridge last longer.
And it can be in any part of the county, not just Commissioner Parton's precinct, correct? On the in-kind work. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And so you've got an example on the back page. Are those, do y'all go by those rates? Is there any rates that y'all follow that, or y'all go by FEMA rates, or y'all, we just use our own rates?
So you can get your own rates. You also need to account for all of your costs involved, mobilization to the bridge and back, benefits, things like that, hourly wages. That there is an example. I have had some local governments using rates. It's up to you.
Okay.
And do we create this, or do you have one of these sheets?
I have a blank. If you want, I can send it to
Yeah,
you.
if you don't mind.
This is,
Putting a cap on an existing bridge in a different location would be considered income work on, wouldn't
could you explain putting the cap on?
it? Just the concrete.
Slab, floating slab.
Yeah, I think you could, because you could say that you're improving the slide, but you need to be careful adding extra weight on top of the bridge.
And so I have one question, because you and I have been talking on another county road that I've had been putting some emergency weight signs on. And so what if we wanted to take that bridge out of the system? And just make it a low water crossing or something like that? Is that considered part of it? Would that equal this match, or?
I would have to clarify that one. Of course, you'd have to remove it before I could take it off of the inventory.
Right.
But I'll have to look into that one.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Reyes?
Not this time.
Well, Justin, I appreciate you coming today, and yes, we do have an interest in this, and go ahead.
A bridge on County Road 508.
Okay,
Thank you, Justin.
Justin, appreciate you coming. We'll be in touch with you, okay?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Okay, number 7, consider an act on designation of Judge Pro Tem. Commissioner Williams, I'll start things off with this. Commissioner Williams has been our Pro Tem for how many years?
I don't know.
A lot of years. And this is a formality we have to do every year, first of the year. In case I'm sick, gone, whatever. Then Commissioner Williams will be in charge of the Commissioner's Court at the meetings. So anything else you want to add, Commissioner Williams?
Nope. You have it good.
You'd be happy to do it again. Well, I'll make a motion to designate Commissioner Williams as Judge Pro Tem.
Second.
Got a second from Commissioner Wright? Is that right? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any other discussion? Ayes have it. Thank you, Jason. Number 8, consider an act on approving members of investment committee. This is what, every 4 years we do this, summer change or whatever, every year? Okay. Investment committee, this Commissioner's Court shall appoint a committee to advise the court and the Mills County Treasurer on investment policy. The committee shall be comprised of the county judge, senior commissioner, county clerk, and 2 or more appointees from the populace of Mills County with a strong financial background. The county treasurer will serve as chairman of the investment committee. The members are Summer Campbell, Jet Johnson, as Mills County judge, Jason Williams, county commissioner, Sonia Scott, county clerk, and the 2 Mills County with strong financial background will be Ed Smith and Lindsay Wetzig. Any questions or comments, discussions on that group?
Where's Lindsay from?
They moved in here probably, I don't know, 8 years ago. He is a financial consultant for investment. Yeah, they bought I was trying to think, his father-in-law was, Jim Wells. Used to be the ag teacher here in pretty places. Okay. Any other discussion?
Hearing none, I make a motion to approve the members of the investment committee for this year, 2023.
Okay, got a motion to approve this list by Commissioner Williams,
Second.
second by Commissioner Parton. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Ayes have it. All right. Number 9, consider an act on board members for the 2023 Mills County Child Welfare Board. Ms. Pesh, good morning. How are you?
This is just an every year thing, again, kind of like the historical commission. These are the same names that were on there last year. Mike Williams, Jason Williams, Paula Gore, Genesis Stegmiller, Stacy Hodge, Deb Garza, Janelle Runyon, and Jessica Head.
We do this every year, correct? To appoint this new board.
Yes.
Okay.
Mike Williams, for anybody wants to know, is the board chairman.
Yeah. Mike Williams is the board chair on this.
I make a motion that we approve the Mills, the 2023 Mills County Child Welfare Board.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Williams. Second by Commissioner Head. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any other discussion? None opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, number 10, consider an act on accepting financial donation to the community center. Miss Billy Etheridge, who does a great job for our community center over here, also known as the Senior Citizen Center, received a financial donation. And we need to approve the donation. The donation, if we do approve it, is $14,000. And the donation was earmarked for any kind of maintenance expense or whatever the Senior Citizen Center / Community Center feel that they need to use it for.
I'll just say this check hasn't been presented to my office for donation, so
So how do we know it's 14,000?
I don't have any knowledge of it in my office. Just what we've been told.
Yeah, what we've been told.
So she's got to present that check. to
Well,
the-
I've been talking to her. She said it was sent to Sensata, to their office there. So,
Then
We've never said
Then
we need to-
there's
Yeah.
nothing we need to do because
Yeah.
that was given to
Yeah.
the Community Action.
yeah, when I talked to her late last week. Okay,
Unless it comes to me with her budget, then it doesn't.
looks like we need to probably table this for another time then. County Attorney Hale, any comments?
I'm not sure I caught all that. Is the donation to the county or not?
It was earmarked, she told me it's earmarked, down Target.
Is the donation to the county or not? Does it go to you or any of your
I
funds?
have saw it is people can make donations and they usually, if they don't take the earnings, put it into that fund. And I don't know what the agreement is with the action and a lot of checks into there. So I don't know, I wasn't involved in
Well,
Yeah,
the law says if there's a donation to the county of more than, what is it, $200, $250, then it has to be approved by the commissioner. If it's not a donation to the county, then the county doesn't have anything to do with it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, if it's not a donation to the county or any funds, some are administered on, then I don't know what we have. So I don't know.
Okay. So you're saying if it's not the county, then we don't have to worry about approving it.
The county's money is
Yeah.
some form of fashion. The county doesn't have anything to do with it.
Okay,
I mean, I don't know who's administering this fund, but if it's not a part of the county business, then the county doesn't have anything to do with it.
okay. Well, I would propose we move on this and I'll do a little further research into this donation, okay?
I make a motion with table on agenda item number 10, financial donation to.
A motion and table has been made by Commissioner Williams. I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any other opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, number 11, consider an act on interlocal agreement with Mullen City Council. I know we've been working on this for a good bit. Mr. Dexter Morris is here today, City Manager of Mullen. Commissioner Parton's been working on this quite a bit. County Attorney Hale has been working some on interlocal agreement. We're trying to get the correct statutes. Correct, stating whether we can do this or not.
Yeah, this is, we've kind of started up a can of worms. We've been in contact with Laura Garcia, who's the attorney in PAC. And she has really been helpful in providing a lot of information on what we can do and what we can't do. There's multiple statutes, there's also Texas Constitution issues. She sent me several attorney general opinions that are all over the place. One of them even revealed the prior attorney general opinion. But I think with consultation with her and looking at all this stuff, I think there's a way to do it. But the problem is the Texas Constitution prohibits funds and resources from one governmental entity assisting another governmental entity without pay. You can do it for pay, but you can't do it without pay, except under certain circumstances. We're dealing with roads here. So we've also figured out that Are there two county roads that actually go through Mullen?
Yes,
During the course of all this, we figured out that technically the county doesn't have jurisdiction for maintaining those two roads without an interlocal with the city of Mullen. I'm not sure we can get, we've got Mr. Morris present here, that's a problem. The other issue is the county is prohibited by the Constitution from using resources and funds to work on roads that are not a part of the county road system. But this statute is $15,000 statute you've been talking about. It's been around for almost 3,000 and 15,000. That's been passed by the Texas legislature. It was not consistent with the Texas Constitution. There was a Texas constitutional amendment proposed to make it all consistent, which failed. So we still have the constitutional issue, but Ms. Garcia is of the opinion that if we can draft this interlocal agreement, you got to show that the work on these roads in Mullen actually benefits the county as a whole. And which it does. Seems to be able to get around and Mullen and connect with the county roads. So I think we can do it. And Mr. Morris has provided me with the draft interlocal here this morning. I'll look at it. And I think we can make it work. We need to connect the dots and make sure. This
Yeah.
is right. I propose we also make it clear that the county has the jurisdiction over the county roads.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't maintain either, so
Okay,
I'll work it out and get it back and forth.
maybe next commissioner. Okay.
I do have a question. I wonder why that was presented at a Texas Association of County meeting.
I can tell you that one of the attorney general things about that had to do with Starving City. I had a case to be in Starving City a couple of weeks ago, and they do have rematch with the streets. And the county, Starving County, basically did the same thing, except on a bigger scale. They passed a bond election. County funds for working on the city streets in Starving City, and they got shut down. You can't do that. There's also, I mean, these things go all over the place. Each commissioner is ex officio road commissioner of his precinct, which means you have the general day-to-day authorization to do whatever needs to be done on your road in the precinct. That does not apply to the city today. There has to be an interlocal. I think the bottom line is that's something.
Okay, we got city manager.
It turned out to be a lot more.
Yeah, I know it's got somewhat complicated. We got city manager Dexter Morris. Dexter, anything else you need to add or anything? If you do, you want to come up to the speaker to speak. Yeah, we're of course doing everything by the book, and it's a lot of research County Attorney Hill is going through on this.
First, I blame all this. No, we gave Gerald Swan, we just did interlocal with state of Texas, council of government. And in that one, we do pay them a little money, that helps go for grants. And they do that free of charge unless we get the grant, and there's a little stipend paid. And they look back to their attorneys to make sure they're good. We've executed that pretty good.
Okay,
So I think we can work all that out. And we feel we're going to balance it. We're agreeable.
okay. Well, we'll keep working on this, and appreciate you coming today, Mr. Morris. And I'll make a motion we table this number 11, consider an act on interlocal agreement with Mullen City Council till next Commissioners Court meeting, or until we can County Attorney Hale has more time to research this issue. So I made a motion. We got a second by Commissioner Parton. Any other discussion? All those in favor, we table this, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Dexter, thanks for coming today.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, number 12, consider an act on road use agreement between Mills County Road and Bridge and Mr. Randall Leonard. Commissioner Head, you want to start things rolling here?
Well, Randall's got, roughly about 100 feet of tin horns in 2 different spots he's gonna be he wants to put in. He's gave material to the county in the past, and we've kind of agreed to, in a year or so, whenever this yard is done, that we can use that material too. Of course, there's supposed to be a permit and all that stuff, so, instead of him having to pay out and stuff like that, and then us getting material, I brought this to do an agreement on there, and that way I put the tin horns in with the way it is.
Okay,
I have a question.
go ahead. Yes, sir.
Where did this agreement come from?
Well, it was previous commissioner and him did a handshake agreement, and me and him talked about it, so we,
No, this one.
I guess we, Jackie and Judge. I mean,
This agreement was approved in Commissioners Court back in 2019.
Okay. Yeah, it's a standard form as far as I'm aware of. It's the road materials donation agreement. And Jackie said the year was 2019 is approved.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
it'd be 312.
Paragraph 4 really does not make any sense to me. Commissioner also agrees to maintain the road to the side of the materials while in use by the county, and to fix, repair fences, gates, and our cattle guard that are damaged by county equipment while removing material.
Then if you dare it up on their property, you've got to fix it. And if you're using the road, then you're gonna tear up the road.
I don't see what that's got to do with putting townhomes in.
So the way I understand it is they got material off of Mr. Leonard
In the past,
and redid the road. And the previous commissioner was going to put these tin horns in for him. These tin horns, there's already an entrance there. So they're taking those horns out and making this a wider entrance.
But
This is gonna
townhome,
be a pipe yard.
okay, I don't know if he said, but townhomes are being put in there for a laydown yard, right?
right,
And
his house.
and your house.
Randall, you want to come up and speak here so we all hear you on the YouTube, so we get all the facts correct on this deal? This is Mr. Randall Leonard. We appreciate you coming in today, Randall, and we also appreciate all your donation for this, your cleats you provide the county. And, you know, that's one thing I want to try to keep everybody happy to donate to this cleats and do what's right for everybody. So it's great having this source.
When you say permit, are you talking the road access policy? Is that what you're talking about? And so, visiting with Gerald the other day on Friday, I mean, we have the access agreement, but but since there was already agreement and there's already an entrance, we just need to make note that we're going to let this permit not happen, right? Is that what we need to do, or to avoid the payment of it? Because we've got a policy in place.
Yeah, I think anytime the county.
Change
has
the
a
policy.
In place to deal with the subject, if we're gonna do something to not follow that policy, then the court needs to make an exception, needs to basically approve it and make an exception for it and go forward with it. So again, we're just trying to connect the dots. I don't know that any commissioner has the authority to go against county policy that's been adopted by the people before. Make a decision like that, without presenting it to the entire court, having this discussion and vote on it. So I think anytime we're making an exception to the standard policy, that the court needs to take action.
Mr. Leonard, anything you want to add to this?
There are no culverts there at present.
Okay,
The ditches are quite difficult to get through.
right.
So that's what the reason for putting the culverts in.
okay,
But this was an agreement given to you by the previous commission.
Okay,
And that's why you brought it to court, right, Robert?
Well, yeah, there's no, as far as I know, there's no paper trail and everything. It was just verbal agreement. And so that's why I'm bringing it to the court. I talked to Gerald and Gerald kind of said what he just told us there. And so and I'd like I told Randall, I don't see an issue with putting them in, don't have a problem putting them in and everything, but I'm just trying to, I guess, keep all the paperwork correct.
sure. Do you maintain county road pretty well?
It is as one of our roads.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, discussion?
I think 1312 was a road that changed from one precinct to another, right?
Is that right?
Yeah, it was for years.
It's kind of proper, I guess it's kind of the precinct line, I guess you call it.
It was, or it is.
Yeah.
Well, either way, that's why I'm bringing it up so we can prove it and then we can get
Okay.
it put in for Randall.
Well, once you make a motion,
I make a motion that we approve my agreement with Randall to put 10 horns in at 2 of his gate entrances. For the material that he has gave us and for some of the material that he will future give us after his contract with the laydown yard.
okay. Okay, we got a motion made by Commissioner Head. Do I hear a second? I'll make a second on the deal. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor of considering the act on this road use agreement with Mills County and Randall Leonard, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, I want to make another motion that we, this motion is to, I don't know how to say this, postpone the policy because we're not doing the policy. How do you?
Well, I think you did that.
You think that's the same, because he didn't say anything about the policy in that motion.
I think we just did that.
Okay, then I'm good then.
And Randall, appreciate you, all the source donation you've done Mills County. Thank you. All right. Moving on, number 13, consider an act on Microsoft and email licensing. We got Goldsmith is here today, Mr. Sam Goldsmith. David, we got Drew via Zoom from somewhere. And Sam, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioner.
Yeah, Sam Goldsmith.
I'm going to defer to Drew on this item.
Okay.
Here to answer any questions you might have, but he's the subject matter expert, so we'll let him.
Okay, Drew, can you hear us good?
Yes, sir. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, Judge, thank you again for allowing us to be here today. As we work through this, we have presented back in November as well as now some options for the county to consider with their Microsoft Office and Microsoft email licensing. As we've presented before, we recommend that the county move forward to be sure and have an email backup system, as well as a secure link system that helps protection for links that come in via the email, and finally a standardization across the county for both email and Microsoft Office. So I know that Commissioner Williams has raised several questions on this, and we believe we've gotten him answers. So I'd actually like to yield to Commissioner Williams on any other questions he might want to have answered in this public forum.
So, excuse me. So exactly do you know, I've reached out to TAC and how did they come up with the different current licenses we have on? Because I've asked them and I haven't gotten how, I know Judge Smith picked each one of those because we have an 8, 3, 24, and 9. And we're wanting to go just 2 different ones. So do you know how that was, how he picked those? Or why those were picked?
So if I understand the question is why do we have a variety of licenses? And
Correct.
as you've stated, yes, I believe previous Judge Smith was the one who guided those. And then since then, individual offices have been allowed to pick the email license that they feel best fit. I don't believe TAC has made any kind of recommendations. I believe they've allowed the county to just to proceed as they desire. And because of that, then you have multiple license and create an issue of, what do I get an E1 or do I get an F3? And not having a product expert there in the county to understand which one we should go with, which is why we come to you with a recommendation of moving to an exchange online for those folks who just need an email license. Those in the dispatch office are using shared computers, but they need an email to complete their training, to complete reports and those type things. So they don't need a full Microsoft license. An exchange online license would be what we would recommend for that, to streamline that. And then those who have a computer, just Jackie and others throughout the courthouse, move them to a Microsoft Business Standard license so that they always have the latest Microsoft program, so that we know that it's patched. We know that it's secure as it can be for Microsoft.
Okay. And one question I asked, and I don't know if y'all, we brought up the last time we talked about this was the being able to do checks and balances. And that TAC has one and going with Goldsmith or combining everything with Goldsmith. How would that checks and balances continue if we pull the email licensing off of, or email licensing off of TAC and put it with y'all? Is there still that checks and balances?
Drew, do you want to speak to that, or you?
Yeah, I'll be happy to speak to that. So one of the things that we believe that will help the county in the checks and balances system with moving the email and licensing over to be managed through Goldsmith Solutions would allow us the opportunity to have our hands in it day to day, but then report back to the county on a semi-annual basis, as well as working with folks like Jackie and other department heads throughout to make sure that we don't have a license that is out there for a user who's no longer with the county. So we would be providing semi-annually, here's a list of everybody who has a license currently, to make sure that somebody hasn't left that we were not made aware of, to keep that up. So that would be one way which we would do that. And then working again, having a standardization across the board for this is how emails are set up, would allow then for us, when somebody says, hey, we need this license, either Jackie or Summer in the Treasurer's Department with the HR side, being able to say, okay, this is exactly where we go to get that.
Drew, do you want to speak to how a hiring report that comes to them in their invoice would reflect those licenses? So they would see that on a monthly basis, whereas right now it's kind of siloed off where you don't see it. So I know that's something we report on every month that would come from the report.
Yes, we provide for our other counties, and would provide this for Mills, a report on specifically any email viruses, phishing attempts, and other attacks, if you will, that are blocked through the secure link system that we have as a part of our monthly report to the county that comes along with our with the invoicing. Shows all tickets worked, but then at the bottom would show the total number of items that our system was able to protect the county from. And then you would have an updated count each month on the number of licenses that are provided.
Yes.
That is, so Drew, Commissioner Williams is showing us the IT update report. That's something that comes to you a couple times a year. In the invoice, we put like a summary page of tickets worked, email licenses in place, kind of just a summary of your bill for the month and what generated those costs. And so that's something you could see on a monthly basis. The other thing I would add is whether it's TAC managing it or Goldsmith managing it, it's still a Microsoft license. Meaning it's not a different product when it comes to just the license itself. The backup and security is different. We have the ability to give you a lot more in-depth information and respond, meaning if we take over managing the licensing infrastructure, it's going to be something that we actively manage versus just waiting until a user says we have a problem or they quit 6 months ago and you know, COG or someone's emailing them and that just keeps coming through and they didn't know that they quit. That's why we brought this to you to begin with. We have to, from a cybersecurity standpoint, from a CJIS standpoint, from an election standpoint, audit these systems on a more regular basis. And that's what we're trying to do. Right now, we can see some insight into TAC, the TAC provided license, but we can't necessarily increase, decrease, streamline without a piece of paper or an approval process every single time. So this kind of gets, the best way I would say is this gets some of the barriers out of the way, but still gives the county in order to make services flow faster to the end user, meaning we can change things in a more real-time basis. But the checks and balances, and first of all, an audit trail is in place of every change. So we can run a report, who changed what, when they changed it, what time did they change it. That's still in place as it is today. The reporting to the commissioner's report as far as on the invoice summary, that would give you more insight than you have today as far as the checks and balances.
And I'll remind the Commissioners Court, we already discussed this earlier. Some departments were concerned about losing their email address being co.mills.tx, and Goldsmith's company has said that we can always keep the old emails going forward, correct? Even if we have a new one come on with a different email.
That's based on the domain, and that's really not on the agenda today. That's
Well, okay.
Microsoft and email license.
So if what we presented, Commissioner and Judge, in November, I believe, is if you were to move forward with these licensing changes, that's going to trigger streamline this entire process. Streamline the license, streamline the email, where it's first name about last name or something.
Yeah. It's still streamlining the email.
So you're gonna change the domain in this no matter what, is what you're saying.
If that's the court prerogative, that's the recommendation we made in November. Y'all tabled this. I don't know if you tabled it.
But I thought that was two separate issues, two separate crimes.
No, there's no additional cost for that. The only thing that had been discussed.
It's on the setup fees. There's a domain fee of $250.
Okay, so you're correct. I'm correct. The major thing, decision point. So first of all, we can migrate these licenses and leave it as is. But we're trying from across the board to streamline everything because you have a different flavor computer on every desk, a different email address on every person, etc. I think the thing that we need some feedback on is if we were to do that, which you could approve this today, and then we can give you an updated thing on a future commissioner's report if you wish. If you were to do that, we originally said we can move to millscounty.org. Tax recommendation is to move to .gov, which that's a U-turn from what TAC is previously recommended, but things are changing. The .gov takes a little bit of time to get that in place. Those are additional approvals that would have to come back to court because the .gov is similar to an interlocal agreement with the federal registry that oversees that .gov. So that most likely would have to come back to you. But that, I guess, is still to be determined. Like our position is you can always keep your old email. Your old email, whatever your email is currently, is going to continue to flow into the new account. It's just when you respond, it would show the new format.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
You gonna come up for Clint or there?
Yeah, I guess, anybody considered a couple of information bank on requesting emails and stuff of that nature? Because we run into it all the time.
I was just fixing to get to it. So you and I are on the same page. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So say when we're all going, this contract expires with Goldsmith, somebody comes back and makes a request for these emails and stuff. Where are we at that point? Because I'm still getting stuff 2 or 3 times a week.
20 years ago.
TAC helps us gather all that information versus us doing it. I put these timelines and stuff like that. So that's one of my concerns, is that stuff has to be responded within 10 days. And that response is either you give them the information, or the response is that you're going to the Attorney General's for an opinion.
So,
Okay.
yes, sir. That's a very valid point. We deal with that in other counties all the time. This would actually put you in a better position than you are today, in that we would have a backup of the email. So for instance, Sheriff, if you had a deputy that left, that email address, that user had been deactivated, the license had been deactivated, we can still go back and pull those emails without touching the individual computer. So are you aware of how that does it today? I'm not going to do
That's
that.
actually still go back and do that same thing.
They can for 30 days unless they keep the email active, meaning they have to keep the license active, or otherwise, if you're correct, if you have an employee leave and you remove your email address, which stops the cost, meaning the monthly fee that it costs for the email, that starts the 30-day window. And if you pass that 30-day window, that information is no longer available. So it sounds like what they're possibly doing is leaving that email activated past 30 days, because there is not a backup system in place currently.
So currently, we're doing Rackspace with TAC, and that's what covers that. Is that correct? That's their archive, Rackspace.
I believe that is their proposed archiving system, but it is not turned on currently for the county.
Yes, we're not paying for any archiving at all, and that's what TAC said. So we're not saving any of our backup as our emails. So if you delete an email, it's gone.
Yes, sir.
Now, information like that, is it not supposed to be saved for
You're not supposed to delete it.
90 days? I mean, I get a lot of crap.
Right. I do too. And that's what my big thing was, is make sure that we go, that our archiving is our number one issue here. I care less who's in charge of the email, but the archiving is.
Austin follows whatever your retention policy is for that type of document. I'm looking at Mr. Hill, because I'm not an attorney, but that's what we're told by attorneys. So if it's a record that needs to be kept for 5 years, that applies to email also. If it's a record that can be kept for 90 days, that applies to email also. I mean, the law for what we've been advised by attorneys, it doesn't differ if it came through the U.S. Post Office or if it came through the email system. But I would, if you have insight into that, I'd be happy to refer to the
But most of those answers, I think, the documents are bringing from the Texas State Library on the
yes,
retention periods and dates and stuff.
yes, sir. The county's retention schedule on a per office per document basis has to be filed with the state library. And so Mills County, whether each elected official has updated that since you took office, or if it's just carrying forward from what's been filed in the past, or what Texas law says, that's over the Texas library.
My understanding is the general retention rule is 7 years. Not sure that applies to what we're talking about. Well, in my line of work, it's quite a bit of time.
Yes, sir.
I know the counties are required by law to meet FBI criminal justice information service security standards for IT systems. And that was stated in several courts around Mills County. That's already been stated. So
And that's more to
You're
who
correct.
has access and when has access. The sheriff's specific question, I think, is more related to how long you have to keep it.
Right.
But I guess going back to the original point is with an archive system, which is what's been proposed, you would be able to go back and capture those documents for those emails much further than you can today and at a cheaper cost. Meaning currently your only option is to delete it and you've got 30 days to get it back, or to keep it active for however long it needs to be active to meet your retention schedule. Or the third option is download all those emails and save them on a computer somewhere or print them. But that's becoming less and less possible, and provides more and more difficult, because if someone booked records request share something like I want to know everything that happened with this person that was in jail, you know, they give you the name, or they give you the case. If you've got them in a hard copy or even in an what we call an offline copy, it's like a downloadable version, you have to sit there and sort through all of those. We've seen this in the media, in, you know, the past few years. With an archiving system, you can search the subject, you can search the case number, you can search any keyword, and it's going to populate all of those, and then you can export just those emails, meaning that we can provide you just those emails for your open records request. And that's something that we've done 15 plus years for counties, meaning that that's part of the service.
So I'm gonna follow up on what the sheriff's question, one of the questions he was, so what if, I'm thinking, you and I are thinking the same, but what if we don't use Goldsmith 5 years from now?
Sure.
Exactly, okay, so, but we're doing your archiving system. Do we get to keep that archiving system if Goldsmith's no longer in play here, or what's the deal here?
So typically what happens is, so first of all, the Microsoft,
Is that right?
is that kind of thing? Okay, so the Microsoft license can be transferred to any Microsoft partner. So TAC is a Microsoft partner, we're a Microsoft partner. When it comes to the specific archive, we can either do a data export, meaning hand you your files upon exiting, meaning like you move forward with another vendor, or you just say, you know, we don't need IT. We would hand you your files as part of like a closeout type process. And that's what's typical in the industry. That's what's typical. Like we have a banking customer right now. They're transferring vendors, not from us, but from one accounting software to another. And so there's what's called a migration or a conversion.
And so you would migrate that to another company that we wanted to, or you.
That or output it in
Are you
a format
talking
that's
about giving us paper trip like this, paper?
we can do that, which is probably not
Yeah, I don't want to do
beneficial
that.
for anyone, but more than likely we migrate it to another vendor if if they have the same system, or provide it to you in a standard format, meaning a standard format is something that any vendor can recognize, like a CSV, which is an Excel format. Drew, do you know anything in addition to that? Like, you know, how do you export the archive?
Yeah, so you have the ability to export, a file that can be loaded into Outlook or into a readable at an industry standard format, is correct.
Yeah, in industry standard being CSV, there's a PST, which is an Outlook file. It's something that it's not unique or proprietary to us. None of this is unique.
And I think the reason we're concerned about this is because we only have a guaranteed of 4 years. And so we want to make sure that the county's covered long after we're gone.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Drew, what is the time frame and all this? I know we've been discussing this since November, right? And there's just a lot of information here. I'm still trying to get my hands wrapped around it. I don't know about the rest of the court.
Yeah, so Judge, Drew, do you want, like, what is the practical time frame of a transition? What do the steps look like, and what are the time frames?
Yeah, so let me speak to the steps in the process. If we, if the county so chooses to make a change over from TAC to Goldsmith, we would work with TAC in having the licensing transition on the backside. So there would not be, should not be any downtime. We would be able to do a license with Microsoft transitioning from TAC being the vendor to Goldsmith being the vendor. Once we have it in our portal, then we can very quickly turn on the backup system, turn on the secure link system. So I would, on the far end, say it would take 60 days, but realistically, I think once we get the license transition, that's, up to TAC on their response, that's up to Microsoft. Within 30 days of that, we have the system backed up and running. I would also say that anything that is currently in an inbox would be immediately, once we turn on the backup system, would be a part of that picture and a part of that backup.
Okay.
And
Sorry. Drew. Just a second. I'm Drew may not like this answer, but once the Microsoft license is transitioned, like that we become kind of the primary agent for it, the backup and the secure link can be implemented in a matter of a day.
Okay.
Meaning that it starts backing up and capturing all of that information that's hanging out there.
Okay.
So it's more about paperwork and approval processes and, you know, outlining the game plan that is the variable when you said 60 days. But we do not expect downtime in this transition, and we do not expect any kind of really data migration, because it's, if you'll remember back to the old days, you had a landline telephone, you could change your long distance provider. You could change from, you know, GTE to MCI to AT&T or whatever, and you just called in and they changed the code on the background and you got a bill from a new person. This is very similar to that process where it's just a matter of changing where the bill flows from and who the primary agent or Microsoft partner is responsible for it.
Okay,
One thing I want to make note of, when I was doing my research on Goldsmith to tag on, I guess it's on page 2 of your packet. When you go down to the security part of it, and it's talking about Defender versus Defender Plan 1, Defender Plan 2 versus SecureLink. When you get to the bones and through all the skin and all that other stuff on it, you really have to go with Defender 2 to be equal to SecureLink. Y'all follow me? SecureLink is better than Defender 1 plan. So when you're looking at the money here, it's not quite apples to apples. So you have to use Defender Plan 2 to be more apples to apples.
okay,
On which one?
So if you look at the very bottom, it says new cost. You either do Defender Plan 1 or Defender Plan 2. Goldsmiths is $920. Defender Plan 1 is $840. So it's cheaper to go with TAC. But if you want to compare apples to apples, you got to go to Defender Plan 2, which makes TAC more expensive. You follow what I'm saying? That's just the research that I found out. Is that, I mean, Drew, is that what, am I stating that correctly from Defender Plan 2 to Defender Plan to SecureLink?
Yes, that you've stated that correctly, Commissioner, and what to try to help bring this down to some common language. The options that come with Defender Plan 2 is what would be closest to considering the options that are provided through SecureLink, which we believe is what the county needs, specifically items like campaign view and threat tracker is something is what Defender Plan 2 calls it.
That's on TAC's webpage. I mean, it's right. I mean, it states what it is. So if you want to compare the two, it's basically on both of their webpages, so you can compare them easily yourself. It wasn't a hard research on that one.
One thing I would add, Commissioner, is back to the checks and balances conversation. One reason we do not use Defender, which is a Microsoft product, is because we internally want to have that checks and balances where not 100% of the data, meaning the email address itself and the backup, are all with one vendor. And in that one vendor would be Microsoft. So being our backup strategy is a completely independent vendor, a completely independent data center, a completely independent everything. So that if Microsoft has a problem or gets attacked, we have a copy of it that's outside of Microsoft. Meaning if they have a meltdown, there's still a copy, you know, with a separate vendor that we can rely on to get that information back.
If you're talking data.
Yes, sir. That's the data backup strategy.
I don't know how the rest of the court feels. I mean, Goldsmith's done a great job, but there's just a lot of information here, Sam, and somewhat complicated for little old me trying to get my hands wrapped around all of this. And you've done a good job presenting everything.
I've got, what is, I mean, I know I'm outdated, but what is the overall plan?
Why do you need to do
Yes.
this? Well, Commissioner, when I started, and we'll go through the whole dissertation of how I got in front of you this morning, but when I started county government, computers were a luxury, meaning everything was on paper and pencil. The sheriff booked people in on paper and pencil, some reported being on paper that are paper and pen or a typewriter. That's not where we are today. Email is the most critical thing to communication in the county. When it comes to the actual offices, I know y'all are out in the field and, you know, You may still have a flip phone or cell phone or whatever, and that gets the job done. When it comes to what the sheriff deals with day in and day out, what the elections specifically deal with day in and day out. Email and just internet communications that are at the core of that. And so if you're communicating over email, county business, official business, that you need a written record. We have to make sure, or it's our opinion that it is in the county's best interest and wise to have a backup of that. Meaning any computer system with, you can do everything right and you can throw it compromised. The backup is if all, you know what breaks loose, we still have a copy of that and we can still go back and pull those communications and prove who said what.
It's just
But for
requirements.
But for what term, y'all, we're talking 90 days.
No, that's just get into me.
So, we can go back, as long as you're subscribing to the backup, we can go back and pull for years. Drew, is there a cap on how far back we can get?
No,
So it archives it.
With
Right.
TAC and Ms. Neal, she made the statement is it's only current inbox. With when you y'all's, you can go back. Now TAC can go back, but they're gonna charge you. I think they said 30 cents or something for every email that they
Any
go back.
email that's ever been corresponding can be gone back there.
If you have a backup strategy, yes, sir.
And it's basically a requirement we have to do.
Now,
These
you-
requirements, like Sheriff Hammond stated.
If you deleted something 10 years ago from Home Depot, you probably can't get it back. Is that correct?
Well,
Yeah.
before, so you currently do not have a backup strategy when it comes to email. If it's already been deleted prior to us implementing that, we can't get it
Yeah,
back.
so
But
if it's already deleted, you're in trouble.
I'm trying to think of, so first of all, banking has to do this legally, like the federal government, Office of Comptroller of Currency, all the regulatory people. Like your Mills County State Bank or in any of the chain banks that you have, they have to retain email for 7 years. They have to retain all electronic documents for 7 years. And the federal law says they have to do it. Counties, because your government are kind of skirting on the edge of where the state and the regulatory folks will tell you you're supposed to do it, but no one will tell you you have to do it. And so that's kind of, you've got one leg on one side of the fence and one leg on the other side of the fence saying you should do it, but I can't force you to do it, meaning the state can't force you to do it. But if someone questions anything of what was sent on email, the commissioner position's changed, and I'm not trying to pick on the previous commissioner, but for instance, if someone said, I want to know what emails he sent 6 months ago, a year ago, etc. There's currently not a straightforward way to do that with what you have. So I understand it's a bunch of jargon and it's complex.
Yes.
But we didn't make, the society.
Yeah.
We're just trying to advise you, and we're going to support you moving forward no matter what you do.
Yeah.
We're trying to proactively come to you before you have a problem and say, here's what industry standard is, here's what the regulators tell you you're supposed to do. We would recommend that you do this.
Sure.
So that you're kind of out in front.
Okay,
And the only other thing I was gonna add is if you go with TAC and they're recommending rack space for their archiving backup. Rack space last year and a few years ago when we changed email, we had all kinds of malicious acts coming up, if y'all remember that. Some of y'all, well, a few of us remember those hacks and stuff like that. But Rackspace this year has already had a ransomware already in January. And so it shut down all their systems.
It shut down Taylor County.
It shut down Taylor.
650 something users, no email release.
And so that's whose tax wanting to use is Rackspace.
okay.
The other one that they're when I did the research, Datos, is it SaaS protection?
Software as a service, I mean, it's not something.
They've only had one in their life history and they've been around 10 plus years. So on ransomware. So
And it can happen to anyone, it's just proactive versus reactive. We're
Yeah.
trying to be proactive.
Okay, commissioners, any other questions, discussion? Again, Sam, thank you for everything. Again, it's just, I'm still having difficulty getting everything wrapped up. I mean, it's just complex.
You don't owe us an
Well,
apology.
I'm-
That's what we're here to help you with.
And y'all done a good job. And again, I will see what the rest of the court does. I just need a little more time, in my opinion, work on some of this.
I'm ready to make a motion. I mean.
Okay, well,
if
just-
Everybody else is, but if they're not and they want to table it again, that's fine.
You
I
know,
don't know what more, I mean, I spent. Drew, I've bugged his ear and
Okay.
Ms. Neal at TAC. I mean, I got her personal number now, so I've called
Okay.
so many questions, but.
well, we can,
But it's just whatever the court wants to do. If you're ready for a vote, we can do it. If not,
any other discussion, commissioners, Commissioner Wright, Commissioner Head? None?
no.
I don't really.
No.
I mean, I understand where
Yeah.
you're going. I just don't understand other than the licensing of people using the computers. Just the streamline stuff and then I think we went way too far technology wise, but.
Well, here's the thing. We got to protect people like the clerk and the sheriff's department and the clerk's office, because they're the ones more use of, and then probably the judge's office.
Yes.
Us commissioners hardly ever use it, so.
And my issue, I still like to communicate more with TAC. I know you've communicated with TAC some, I haven't had the chance. It's just to answer a few more questions, and y'all have done a great job on Goldsmith answering these.
Well, I was just gonna, I'll sympathize with you over here, but I'll tell you also, like, the amount that's gonna come at you after this legislative session, I think it's gonna be more technology.
Oh, I'm sure.
More requirement,
And
more,
we're not. It's
It's where we're at, but
I'm curious.
and I think it's very possibly the fact, I was telling somebody at stock show, we definitely have a generation gap.
Sure.
What is important to 40-year-olds is not important at all to 60-year-olds. Because we did it the other way.
Right.
It worked. And we just went down a technology funnel that there's no coming back out of.
You're absolutely right. I'm sure. And my parents represent they are trying and, you know, they do text messaging and email when they force them to. But I hear you, I get it. What we're seeing is interesting is Brown County and what part of your district court system, much larger population, of course. Their internal users are moving from, you know, the older age of the range or age range of in workforce to the younger, and these people are coming into that courthouse and saying, I need this right now. Like they don't understand a world that doesn't evolve.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying you're absolutely right. There's a gap there, so I get it.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even get computers till we were after being Brown. The next generation grew up with them from the time they were 3.
I know this is a very important issue, and that's why I would make a motion to table it to the next Commissioners Court meeting. Yes, ma'am.
No, I didn't make it.
You didn't ever make a motion?
I said I was ready.
This is a very important issue, a serious issue, and I just feel like I personally need a little more time to do a little more research. I don't know how the rest of the Commissioner Court feels, but I will make a motion to table the Microsoft email licensing until the very next Commissioners Court meeting, which is February, whatever date it is, 2 weeks from today.
So is everybody gonna go out and do their research? I mean.
Well,
And so you got one that's not.
I was gonna do some more research on it. But I'll make that motion. We'll see how it goes. I'll make that motion to table this.
I'll second it.
We got a second for Commissioner Wright, a motion by me to table this next Commissioner Court, second by Commissioner Wright. All those in favor for tabling this till 2 weeks from today, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Yeah, I guess so, because I mean, I'm kind of sliding in on the back end somewhere.
Okay, so we got all those in favor, say aye. It was myself, Commissioner Head, Commissioner Wright. Okay, all those opposed? Commissioner Williams is opposed and Commissioner Parton has abstained. Sam will be in more communication with you.
Not a problem, sir. I would just say, like, we can talk between now and then.
Sure.
For the agenda, but if you all have the court prerogative, if you want that punch list of all the changes we suggested, you know, this could trigger than have to trigger. If you want that in a summary to come
Sure.
back to you, just so that you're not having to, maybe move forward with that, whichever way you're going, and then have a whole separate conversation about the .gov.
Good presentation, and we got jury trial next 2 days, but later on in the week, I'll get back in touch with you. And like I said, we'll visit. But appreciate you coming, Sam, and Drew, appreciate you being on Zoom with us. And
Our
David,
pleasure.
thank you. Okay. Number 14, consider an act on proposal from Automated Fire Protection or Century Fire Protection. Guy Burns, you want to come up and give us a little presentation on what's going on with all of this? And this, the quotes are in your packet, commissioners.
Go ahead.
Well, go ahead. We had several fire protection companies come in, which we have to update our fire panels and whatnot. And I'll let you take off from there, Guy.
Initially, we had San Saba Fire Safety Equipment come in. They put in the new panel. And they could not make it work with the devices. They couldn't make it communicate. So their suggestion was to wait 6 months to order another panel or to replace the devices, which would be several $1,000s. I took the third option. They took the panel back out, put the old one in, no charge. So we had Century Fire Protection and Automatic Fire Protection gave us a proposal to replace the panel.
And this panel is on the first floor, too, you might add, right?
Correct.
Right by the judge's office.
Correct.
Controls all the fire support system.
Right. And panel's been out for a while.
Yeah.
So anyhow, the two proposals, one company, Automatic Fire Protection out of San Angelo. They're higher, but they're closer. The other is Century Fire Protection out of Dallas. And this goes back to, they put in a proposal back in April of 2019. So this is an updated proposal. They actually gave two, one to replace the board that we have now, another one to replace the board with a smaller one. But then there would be some carpenter issues with that, so we kind of nixed that one. So I have option A and option B for the commissioner's board.
And the guy did come from Automated Fire System, correct, from San Angelo?
Yeah, he came and actually did the walkthrough. He's familiar with the board, he's familiar with the system. And the Century, obviously they went off of their old proposal. I'm gonna assume they came and did a walkthrough back in 2019.
Okay. Questions, commissioners?
So is this replacing both full panels? It's not just redoing the chip, correct?
This is replacing the motherboard.
On both of them, and the panel will stay the same?
Yeah, you have a motherboard and then you have a booster panel, which is up on the second floor of the county jury room inside that mechanical room. So it's a booster. This will also include updating the batteries, full system check on all the devices. And they will come once a year to test it. And
For the length of it, for the warranty of it, or forever?
no, this will be, we'll have to pay for them to come and test it. The same way they come, we have a company that comes and checks our fire extinguishers every year.
So the Century one has a warranty of 3 years.
What they do, there's a document inside the panel that needs to be signed off every year, just like the fire extinguishers do. To say that it's-
Automated one, are they gonna supply a warranty or anything on it? If it doesn't have anything on theirs.
It's a 1 year. I believe, I may be wrong on that.
And Guy, excuse me, what company was it that had a smaller panel box, but you got this?
Yeah, that was Central.
Okay, yeah.
It's called IFP 75, and you got IFP 100, and all that means is that's how many devices it can hold. I don't think we have maybe 50 or 60 devices, so an IFP 75 will work.
Okay,
It's a little cheaper, but it's also in a smaller, you're replacing the whole panel then. And it's smaller than the hole that's cutting that concrete wall, so we'd have to do some.
I have to do some more framing around it.
Yeah, there'll be some issues with that.
Well, guy, what you're kind of telling me, I'm kind of leaning towards the automatic fire protection company. I know they're slightly higher, but they sound like the service is good. They came up to go through everything.
So you're saying Century didn't even come up and look at it,
Yeah, Century did, but, yeah, no, they did not.
but they did in 2019.
Yes.
There should be information on that in the judge's office.
Yeah, that was before my time.
Are both of their exclusions about the same?
Yeah, the product's the same, it's the same product.
No, the exclusion, but what they will, what they won't do, but this thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be the same.
You're talking about a lot of stuff that can cost a good bit of extra money just to.
Then when they go through and do the checks, there might be a pull station, maybe a smoke alarm that needs to be replaced or something. If they do find that, that would be the only extras. My understanding, system was affected by a lightning strike back in 4 years ago, 2019. And so it's very possible there could be more issues.
Damage.
Correct. But they won't know till they put the new motherboard in.
You know they're gonna find something else,
Yeah.
just like any mechanic.
Okay, discussion, questions, gentlemen? Well, guy, what I'm hearing, I know this other one may be a tab more, but it sound like we think the service might be a little better being closer from San Angelo.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna make a motion. We go ahead and approve automatic fire protection out of San Angelo to handle our fire safety systems.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second from Commissioner Rod. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, ayes have it. Number 15, consider an act on bid specs for camera system to jail and courthouse. Mr. Sam Goldsmith, you're up again, sir. Good morning again.
I'm gonna give y'all a hard copy of this. This was not available in your packet. It was printed and that is on me. I was out sick last week
You
and,
feeling better?
yes, sir. And just to reassure everyone, it was food poisoning, so.
Yeah, I think I went to the restroom or something.
So basically, we have discussed at length in prior commissioners boards and IT meetings with the judge last week and county judge, et cetera. The need for the courthouse camera security system to be replaced. Just to remind everyone, it's the equivalent of kind of VCR quality, if you think about your home television. And the other pressing need when it comes to security systems is at the sheriff's office. The other pressing need is at the sheriff's office, everything to do with the security electronics in that building, which is the intercom, which between the inmate and the jailer, which is a legal requirement of Texas Official and Jail Standards. The door control and the camera, all of that was installed when that building was built in 2016. It is better quality than the courthouse, but still is analog type technology or kind of north of VCR, maybe better than VCR, but not to today's standards. And that system continues to present issues for the sheriff and his staff. That said, replacing those systems, the county does not know what the cost is going to be fully. But we do know that it is going to exceed $50,000. So when you cross 50,000 or you approach 50,000, that triggers a bid process, whether it's request for qualifications, request for proposal, competitive sealed bid, et cetera. So what this document is, this is something we put together for Mills County that outlines basically what the needs are, all of the technical specifications of how does the cabling route, what kind of cabling, what standards does it have to meet, how would the system be installed? This does not pick any vendor or manufacturer. That's still to be determined based on who proposes. And anyone out there that's hearing this or that sees your advertisement, if the court moves forward with an advertisement for bid, would be able to bid. It talks about just security clearances required, the description of the work, quality assurance. It gives the county options to reject work based on poor performance or to waive work that maybe isn't needed from one system versus another system. It outlines all the equipment that the county already has in place, like racks, battery backups, generators, so that someone proposing isn't saying, oh, county, you need to buy all this other stuff, and we already have that. I mean, we don't want to spend any more than we have to spend on this. However, we do know this is going to be an expensive purchase. It outlines things like the brand of cabling to be used and gives a couple of different options, because you can get cheap Chinese junk cabling that will not last, or you can get an American or name brand cable that will last 25 years. So it basically just outlines all of those detailed parts and parcel, so to speak. It talks about testing, access, minimum requirements. It outlines the requirements the jail commission has, which the jail commission law, which is Standard Land Act, which is SB 1849. It says that the sheriff has to have 45 days of recordings on file at all times. And that is reviewed annually during your jail inspection. And 44 days in the hour doesn't count. The law says you have to have a minimum of 45 hours. So we put a calculation here saying that our goal is to have 60 days of recordings based on motion recording, based on up to 16 hours of motion. Meaning if you're recording based on motion, we don't want to say, well, we're only gonna have motion 2 hours out of 24. We kind of made that high. So that we know this will exceed the jail commission requirements, which will make sure that you pass that audit. Talks about door and intercom control, again, power, licensing. A lot of camera systems today are, some of them are you purchase it and you're done, meaning you have to support it and maintain it, but there's no annual cost. Some of them are you don't purchase anything and there's an annual cost from now until forever. One is not better than the other. It's just there are two different models of how to purchase. And so it outlines that you want to propose a subscription-based model. What would those requirements need to look like? Because it's not reasonable to the county for one proposer to come in and say, well, it cost you $50,000, but that's only year one, year two is $50,000, year three is $50,000, year four is $50,000, where another vendor would come in and say it's $125,000, but you're done. So it outlines trying to get apples to apples. The goal of this is to give people guidelines and criteria in print that they can follow to put together their proposal. Our recommendation would be that the county advertise those proposals through the legal process, that the proposals then be open, according to law and commissioner's court, and that the commissioner's court take no action on them or table them, which would then give the sheriff an opportunity to visit with every vendor and to see other facilities that might have their product, would allow the commissioners to do the same, and would allow us to work with the county to review those proposals and to try to whittle it down outside of commissioner's report of here's vendor A, B, and C, here's the pluses and minuses of A and B and C, and here's the cost of A, B, and C.
Okay.
So this is more of a standards document. I'm trying to think that there will be questions that each vendor will have, because a GM truck is different than a Chevrolet truck, and this feature or that feature, but overall they're both a 3/4 ton truck. What typically happens in this process is you would advertise after it's been advertised at least once, but I would suggest, I would recommend at least twice, because it has to be advertised twice. That we have what's called a pre-bid conference, which is where every vendor gets the opportunity to walk through your facility and see, what's in place so that they can understand it. Because if they just throw a number at you, that number is going to be high. But if they see it and understand it, then that'll help them fine tune what their proposal is.
And if you do that walkthrough, will y'all be a part of that walkthrough, or are you just gonna have like our elected official and maintenance?
Our recommendation would be that the sheriff's office be a part of that walkthrough, the guy be a part of that walkthrough, and then we can be a part of that walkthrough. In that walkthrough, I expect people to ask questions. That's typical. We can answer questions along the way, But a question is not a question and not official until it's submitted in writing, which would be submitted to us or to the county and then forwarded to us, how we want to handle that. And then the response to those questions would go out to all potential bidders. So that everyone has fair and accurate information. If there's additional information provided, it's provided to everyone. If it's not outlined in this document.
I'm glad you're providing consultation help with us, Sam, on this, another technical issue. My question is regarding, the cabling first. Do we do RFQ, RFP for cabling first and then, RFQ, RFP for cameras next?
It's a good question. We built it all into this, hoping that vendors will provide a turnkey solution and that we can find a vendor that can do all of the above.
Okay, so we can hopefully do it all one, cabling and cameras.
Yes, sir. That,
Okay.
that is the hope, Judge. If a vendor comes in and says, yes, we want to do the camera system in the courthouse, but we have no clue how to get cables between these rooms in the courthouse because the courthouse presents complexities,
Sure.
then we might have to cut that out of the scope and pursue that elsewhere. But one reason that we've been working on the cabling and have a vendor come out and look at it is to try to get ideas and have those ahead of the walkthrough. We did stress heavily on this, that the security aspect of this project, being the sheriff's office and law enforcement center, everybody has to have a background check, et cetera. We stressed in this project that it has to meet all of Texas Commission on Jail standards, and that it has to meet any Texas Historical Commission standards and give them an option to weigh in, because I don't know this for a fact, but I know any courthouse in Texas that has been restored, the court would have given the Historical Commission an easement either for 25 years or in perpetuity, meaning that they're kind of a co-owner of this building. So we can't do something that harms the building aesthetically or physically without giving them an option.
Well, sure. I think we're all ready to move as soon as we can. Sheriff, Hammond, any comments or?
I've already started the process to get preliminary numbers of cost. Had 3 vendors already come through the facility. And currently waiting on, just one more estimate, just to give the court an idea of when we do open this up to bids. This is what we're looking at. And then, I guess in the back of your mind, we'll start figuring out how we want to pay for it.
Well,
So
how's that work if you've already gotten bids?
they're not a bid. It's just, for me, it's a go.
I understand for you,
But
but
when
if
it-
we get these numbers, it would be kind of a conflict, wouldn't it?
Do I?
If we get your numbers that you've already been given and then we open it up for bids.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna tell you who the vendors
Okay,
are.
okay.
I'm gonna tell you it could cost from here to here.
I'm just trying to make sure that we're not having to dismiss a vendor because
Now,
of one of us already knowing the information.
right, I'm using this for me. When I come back to report, I'm not gonna leave vendors specific. I'm gonna say, we're looking at about this much money. And then we need to start figuring out how we're gonna pay them. Of course, at the same time, open it up a bit.
Well, I think that would be helpful if we can have that conversation with the sheriff to make sure that
Well, I just don't want to throw a vendor out because we know too much already.
I
before
understand
we
your
open.
concern, and I understand we as IT consultant, we don't know what this is gonna cost. I think the sheriff, that's what he's trying to get at. Also, I can tell you that the courthouse, I think will be in the $40,000-$60,000 range for the courthouse. The sheriff's office could be $250,000. I do not know, and I'm not throwing that number out there to scare you. I'm saying it is extremely complex. There are tons of cameras, and there have to be kind of redundant systems where one part can't fail in the system, the whole building shut down. So it's going to be expensive.
And County Treasurer Summer, do we have any money budgeted for in this cycle or not for any cameras? Security,
We have a little bit, but not
No,
near.
not much.
Not near what's covered
250.
with this.
Yeah,
By the way, the previous judge, was it put some in for, I can't remember what
It's a combination of both in that technology line, but then you $40,000 up into your technology line in your budget. But again, it's still not.
So the 20,000 that we gave for the upgrade a while back ago, did you do that or no?
No, remember we held off on it.
Oh, I thought we voted to
Yeah,
pass,
hold on.
we passed it in here to do
Well,
it,
I
so.
think passed it, but I recommend we hold off on spending that money because it's just gonna be a temporary fix. So I didn't wanna waste $20,000 for a temporary fix.
And we had met with the sheriff and the county judge prior to the.
It had to be after the vote because we already voted on it.
Okay, well, sometime prior to Christmas, and I think it was prior to
Yeah, that vote,
Thanksgiving, but I wasn't aware of that, but we talked about, that was kind of just a. Not even a Band-Aid, a bathing wire, twisted together and hope it helps stuff. I will tell you, another county, a 45 camera system, installation, conduit, all that stuff. Their bid in 2020, so cost escalation, since it said was like 145,000. Y'all have a much larger jail, much larger needs, so that's, again, I'm not trying to scare you with the number, I'm just saying that I'm gonna be as interested as you are when we open the sealed proposals to see what's proposed.
And
In
go ahead.
the spec I've got, that it is mandatory that someone cover this. Because when we've done this in the past, we've had 3 bidders and one of them was in Louisiana, so you can imagine what it's gonna be like trying to get them here to fix something. And they didn't even show up, they just threw stuff at the wall and see what would happen. And so in that county, I recommended the Commissioner's Court that they not consider their bid. It didn't disqualify them because it wasn't mandatory, but that they not consider it because it wasn't the county's best interest.
So, and one other question I had, so if we do consider and get an RFP, RFQ out, of course, the first step again is cabling, correct? And
Well, then this is gonna be, we're gonna put out one single, this would be a
Yeah.
request for proposal or I will defer to the attorney on what
Yeah.
you want to call it, but I know it's not an RFQ, it's a request for proposal.
Request for proposal.
And this is for a turnkey project, which would include the cabling, just to see, can a vendor come back and provide
Okay.
everything that was.
Okay.
asked for.
now, didn't we already pay for some free cabling already? So what would that come back
Sure, so in last fiscal year, the cabling.
for the courthouse?
The cabling you did not pay for, there was some network equipment that you paid for that we're replacing that affect the computers and phones, and we went ahead and sized it to where it would support the cameras for the courthouse. And y'all paid for that, that's been ordered, but hasn't been installed yet. We went ahead and inspected as if that is not a part of it, knowing that we can always back down, meaning that if they propose something that we have already in place, we can always reduce their scope, but it's hard to add to their scope. Because you start getting, well, can I add this? Can I add that? And then it's kind of like, well, you just need to do a whole other request for proposal with that same thing. So there is a little bit on the courthouse side that has been done or that's about to be done that I think will reduce the cost, but to give you an idea, Commissioner, the device I'm talking about was probably less than $2,500 total. So, if a proposer comes back and says, all cabling, both courthouse and law enforcement, 300,000, we're talking about maybe 2,000 that we can get out of that.
okay,
I was under the assumption we already paid for the cabling in the courthouse.
I know there was a discussion about that, and I guess it was summer, and we can go back and look,
Okay.
but we did not, let me take that back, because I know what you're referring to. We have a budget in the IT project that y'all paid for last year for some cabling improvements, but I want to say it's around $2,500, $3,000.
Yeah.
And that's more to rehab the cable that's in place, meaning fix the plugs that are broken. We're trying to move some cabling around downstairs. It's a budgetary number. If we end up not using that and we want to spend it on cabling for this, we can, but it's not a great sum of money.
Okay.
And it's more of a budgetary placeholder that y'all have approved and paid for. That's a part of kind of the phased approach of things that we're replacing.
And so one more question on cabling, we're basing on cabling and do you have to do cabling and if you're going to if you're using the cloud?
Sure. So that's an
I
excellent
mean,
question.
you still have to do cabling?
It goes from the camera, the system, and then on it.
So you gotta have a server, you gotta have a server.
So, well, those are two different questions.
Okay.
Let's there just to make sure, and I'm not.
Yeah.
No,
No,
I'm
no,
trying to
I'm just-
make it as simple as possible. The cameras that you have in place currently, let's just say that they're VCR quality.
Yeah.
The sheriff's are a little bit better than that, the courthouses aren't. It uses a coax cable like an old TV. Any new camera uses a network internet connection, which means you have to replace the cable. Now, that's painful right now, meaning cost wise, but every device in the world is based on that network cable and will be 20 years from now. And cabling infrastructure should last 20 to 30 years. And we have other projects that they've lasted that long, if they're done properly, and that's why we're so specific about bringing quality acceptance. The second question I think that you asked is, we have to have a server to store it, or if it's cloud-based, it gets stored in the cloud. That this standard does not pick a winner and a loser in that.
Okay.
I expect you to have bidders that will propose both options. There are pros and cons to both options. And that's something to be evaluated once you have the bid, open the bid and look at the bid. But the cable has to be there to support either one, whether it's stored on the server here in your building or in your law enforcement building, or if it's stored in the cloud.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Clint, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I'm reading over this document, you know, of course, some of this is gonna have to be submitted to the commission for approval. Because we're coming in and, it's still considered structural. I haven't met with, Commissioner Williams, with Commissioner Wright. I've met with the judge, Commissioner Higgins, Commissioner Farley on some guesstimate costs. So if y'all want to give it to me, I think we do this week. And,
Sure.
come over with it.
Okay. I know we both in agreement, we want to go as soon as possible as we can, try to get this project going, and I know it's going to take a little bit, to get it going, so.
I have a question that pertains to the jail and the cameras that are not working, right?
Some are and some are not.
There's,
Right now, the cameras are working and you can see them, but not all of them are recorded. Let's see.
but there's 20 grand. Are we, by them not being working properly, are we within the jail requirement?
No.
Okay, why would we not use this 20 grand to get within the jail requirements? I don't think, as opposed to a lawsuit or something, this is not wasted money. Because if you're outside of it, you're opening yourself to a lawsuit, aren't you?
We're open all the time. I mean, that's all the time.
You know, but I
I
mean, nobody wants to throw good money after bad, but if it's putting you completely out of whack, it
Well,
needs
that's,
to be done.
to be honest, as long as it's a very
Yeah,
minute fraction. And that is one that we don't utilize that often. So therefore, we didn't do it. We're actually using the body cameras instead. So yes, it's getting recorded.
okay.
It's just,
And
But you're not, you're okay. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you're not out of business. Yeah.
one thing I would say that the sheriff brought up, which is a very good, excellent point. Let's say the county opens these, the sheriff reviews them, we review them, whoever is part of that team reviews them before it comes back to the commissioner's report. If we, at some point, during that process, we need to engage the jail inspector and review that with the jail inspector, not for them to pick, well, I think B, A versus B, but so that they can raise any regulatory issues. I mean, we know what those are and they're published in the jail standards, but just so they're part of the process, and they know that the county's moving towards a resolution on this, but also if they have something of, hey, we know the jail 60 miles from here to use that vendor, and here's the problem they had, we can circle back and make sure that they've got something built into their proposal to solve that issue. Does that make sense? So I think that what the sheriff is saying absolutely makes sense to engage them, you know, earlier in the process, once we kind of know who the players are that have submitted proposals. If the court is interested in taking action to approve advertising for this, just know that it has to advertise for at least 2 weeks. And again, I'll defer to your attorney, who's much wiser on this than I am. We would suggest that after it's advertised for 2 weeks, then we would have that pre-bid walkthrough conference. And then after that, we would give the prospective bidders another, I would say at least 10 days to put together their proposal. Meaning you can't ask them 3 days after they saw the building to give you a cost. Maybe another 10 days after that, before it would come to commissioner report, and that's just when they would be open. So
Okay.
to the judge's point, this is a kind of a milestone type process. Where
Yes.
you have these different milestones along the way to get you where you need to go.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion, gentlemen?
I'd like to have time to meet with them. I didn't call me about these cameras, and I didn't have a chance last week to meet with them and visit with them. I'd like to have that opportunity to.
Sure.
Well, if he's already met with three, we don't need to be discussing it between the three of us or whatever, because then that becomes a walking quorum. Meeting with Clint's not a walking quorum, but if y'all call me or Jet or discuss it, it's a walking quorum.
I understand.
I just thought this meeting with you individually.
That's what I'm saying, but they can't communicate, they can't communicate with each other.
Yeah. This information. Discussion, Jim, I was gonna make a motion that we go ahead and approve the Goldsmith on the specs and the bids for the upcoming, how should I phrase this,
Are
Sam?
you gonna do the advertising or do we do the advertising?
So that's what I was about to say.
Okay.
It needs to be on the county. This is just that you would approve this bid spec to be advertised for bid. And we need to talk through, before you take action on this, when those advertisements would be, where they would be turned into. We can put together a one-page for you.
Yeah, there's-
That will go in the newspaper, but it has to be sealed.
Sure.
It has to be outlined in court, what day it's going to be due, what time it's going to be due, all of those legal.
There's a lot of information here. If I make this motion, how would you propose I state the motion?
I'm going to defer to the attorney because I'm outside my wheelhouse. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I would like to say, look,
Okay, sure.
on my end, y'all can do what you want.
No, if,
Forecast.
we're all doing this together, courthouse, jail, so we can sure table it.
I haven't had time to look over this completely,
Okay,
but what he gave me today, I noticed some things in there, it's like the vandal resistant stuff, that's gonna be an issue with the jail commission, because they're gonna want this typical wording and stuff, correctional grade is probably what they're gonna want to see on the.
okay,
And one thing, Sheriff, we put in there is we don't have a layout of every single camera, and we want to give the vendors an opportunity to review what you have and then to meet it or exceed it. And one thing you'll find where it says it has to meet or exceed the current technology and stuff that's in place.
Right, well, whatever the equipment, I'm gonna send you the jail commission first. Sure. I'll stay ready to have it, you want that. Sure. Cause I don't wanna try to do this and then link it out.
For that, I'd like to read it too.
Okay.
I don't know if I understand it, but I'd like to read it.
again,
That makes
Sam,
complete sense, and we think, we know that people on that walkthrough are gonna have questions
Yeah.
specifically, like, does it have to be this model or that model? That's when we wanted them to submit the question in writing, and so we've been the expert, but again, I hope to have this to you on Wednesday or
So,
Thursday.
And one question I want to ask, if we're going to put this in the newspaper and advertise it, I don't know of any company in Mills County that can meet, that can do this job.
where else do we advertise it?
And so do we just advertise in our paper or does it go other places? Okay,
The statute says you have to advertise at least 2 times. You may not get any bids. So then you can choose the vendor of your choice and Germany will have enough. But that's my understanding.
Okay.
That's why we went out for bids for fuel, road material and all those things is because it's purchasing. We're required to do that now.
yeah, but this is something that yeah.
I mean, you can send it out to people who can have it, or you can put it on tips or box.
Okay,
Tips are my board. That's what I didn't know if we could, can we add this to those and put, and do it? I mean, we're already members of Tips and my board.
I think you should be able to do that, and typically what we see is, every person that's contacted the sheriff, I'm sure he gets, sales calls all day long for different things, and
Yeah, as soon as we post this, he's gonna get a bug.
well, but my point is that you can proactively send this to anyone that you know that's expressed interest. It's just you have to meet the minimum threshold, and again, I'm outside my wheelhouse here, but of advertising for the 2 weeks.
I was just worried the eagle wasn't gonna be enough.
and Sheriff Hammonds, is 2 weeks long enough before if we table this to come back and address this, or do you need a little more time? Okay. Well, I'll start things off by make a motion that we table the bid specs for a camera system to the jail and courthouse and address this again, Sam, again, 2 weeks from today, Commissioners Court. It's my motion.
I'll second it.
I got a motion by me, a second by Commissioner Wright. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye to table it. Aye. Any opposed? I vote. Ayes have it, Sam. Thanks again. Yeah, lots of information. We're going on almost 2 hours, or anybody need a potty break, or can we keep going? I want to make sure if I need to take a 5-minute break, they're okay. Hearing none, we'll continue. Everybody okay? Okay. Number 16, consider an act on removing Chris Green from the inmate commissionary bank account and adding Daniel Garza. Clint, that's yours again. You want to come up here?
Might as well stay, Rachel.
Yeah, you're gonna be up here.
Yeah, there's a list of people who've got everything. I think all of you know, the chief deputy Green is finishing up some stuff, and working his time out on some other things with, or unfinished some grant stuff, that nature, but Daniel Garland is gonna take Chief Green's place. Chief Green's gonna go ahead and retire here before too long. So Daniel's gonna take the responsibilities of overseeing a lot of the jail procedures and stuff of that nature, and commissary counts and cutting checks. You know, that's one of the jobs of that. So basically, we need court permission to take Mr. Green off there and put Chief Deputy Garza on.
And Commissioners, Mr. Garza has been here previous years, correct?
Correct.
Working.
It started, what year did you move? Yeah. 16. And he worked, full time for us a little bit until he got mad. And then he got sad and came back.
Okay. Okay.
So he's taking Chris's spot, correct?
Correct.
So they're both on the salary.
No. Out of the goodness of his heart, he's just here helping us out.
So how does that work with Workforce Commission? We can't volunteer without,
No, he's a reserve.
oh, okay. So he is on the payroll then.
No. You have paid and then so he's been on unpaid status with us now for several years.
Right, so, but I
And he
didn't
still
know,
has the same authority back. He's commissioner under him. So, no, there's not 2 people on the salary.
to do the same job.
Perfect.
I'm doing it for free.
Good
The only
man.
place that gets in trouble is that it's not for doing it for free, it puts us to the department.
That's what I'm saying. Workforce Commission and Department of Labor could get you in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, that's. Part of the, like, I'm not making it.
Nobody,
Yeah.
So that was where you'd be running into the issue. Out of the goodness of his heart. He has donated his time and everything. And he,
So when he signs these checks, he is a full member of the
he is
county.
a sheriff's deputy. Authorized by this court. With the same powers that I have.
Okay, I'm just making sure, because if
Yeah.
you're doing it for free, I'm just making sure. Don't want it to come back on us that somebody, that he's not with the county.
And that honestly, it's more of an emergency than anything. So I wouldn't foresee him signing that next.
So how long is he gonna do it for free?
We'll discuss that later.
I think it needs to
We're
be discussed
getting
pretty
close.
quickly.
Yeah, we're getting close. So.
I'm just scared. Okay.
So in other words, I can leave, if I want.
Oh,
And he does.
You mentioned Chris Green retiring. Do you know a time date on that yet? or-
He is supposed to be working on his letter to get it to me, we hit right at the point where he had finished up some grants.
Okay,
Now that stuff starting to cycle out.
okay.
So.
Pretty soon, possibly.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Well, do the recommendation of the sheriff, I make the motion that we move Chris Green from the inmate commissary bank account and add Mr. Daniel Garza.
okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Williams.
I'll second it.
We got a second by Commissioner Head. Any other discussion? All those in favor of removing Chris Green from the bank account, adding Daniel Garza, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, number 17, consider an act on accepting 2022 racial profiling report as required by Texas Occupations Code 1701.164. Clint, go ahead.
I believe most everybody's been through this process before, probably except the judge and.
Yeah.
This is, every year we have to do this, the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement is required by state law. It's basically just let you know how many total traffic stops that we made throughout the year, how many citations were issued, how many warnings were issued, whether they were male, whether they were female, and all the ethnicities involved there, whether they were searched, arrested. It's pretty lengthy. Unless you want me to go line by line. This is nothing that you have to approve, and the reason why I do this is to make y'all aware that it's been done, because I remember one time before. The commission come back and said, hey, you didn't turn this in. I'm like, yeah, I did. So I had to go back to the clerk and get it where it went through this court and send it to them.
They
Or
lost
I
it.
would have had to go through this mess
Yeah.
again.
They lost it.
And this was number 5. It took me 5 times to get this to go through the system,
Okay,
technology.
okay. Questions, discussion,
You
commissioners?
could have mailed it to them, right?
They charge you for that stuff.
I'll make a motion that we act on accepting the 2022 racial profiling report as presented by Sheriff Hammonds.
Second.
We got a motion by me, a second by Commissioner Williams. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. All right, number 18, consider an act on rifle resistant body armor grant program resolution. Sheriff Hammonds.
There again, each year that we write these grants, this resolution has to come to the court. Court has to pass the resolution. And then once that resolution is passed, it's uploaded into the grant program, goes to the office of the governor. It's pretty standard for not necessarily our grant, but any grant that the government entity writes now under E-grants from the state of Texas. And you're mandated to go to number 1, the training to write the grant, which is the same every year. And number 2, these resolutions, and then you have to prove that you've attended cybersecurity courses, blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
Did you say this was an annual election to be eligible for grants? What was your wording on
What?
What was your wording on that? This is an annual resolution. We do this every year?
No, each time you write a grant, you have to do it.
Yeah.
and in a commissioner's court packet, there is a copy of this resolution. Summer, do I need to read this or not? Yeah. I mean, Sonia, I'm sorry, Sonia. Do I need to read this, Sonia, or the resolution? Yeah, I don't. In a matter of time, I'll make a motion that we approve this body armor grant program resolution. We got a motion by me, a second by Commissioner Williams. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Okay, number 19, consider an act on purchase of equipment for law enforcement with Chapter 59 funds. Again, Sheriff Hammonds.
So, first one we'll go over is Guardian, RFID technology. You'll all see that one.
No, we don't have that one.
We did not make it.
All we got is Johnson. Vortex.
Red, white, and blue.
And red, white, and blue.
We'll get this in on the next board.
Okay, so we need to, yeah, I must overlook that.
So basically, some of you may not be familiar with Chapter 59.
You can add it to this one. I mean, if you wanted to, because it just says purchase, it doesn't list.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, I'll let y'all just pass it down.
And so all we need to do is make sure that the clerk has a copy of it. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so, but we can do it. There's no
yeah,
reason.
let's just pass it down and get it done if we
This is
approve it.
like I said, Guardian, RFID technology, the amount of $4,861.50. What that is the cell check system that we moved to, where there's a lot more documentation that goes through on medications, inmates are taking, versus walking up there saying you're checking them. You can say, reading a book or in bed, it's just a little bit more in
Like a little
depth.
hand thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little more in depth, keeping up with what they're actually doing versus just saying they're there. We don't want to come by and say hanging from the ceiling twice. So that's the purpose of doing that.
Okay,
And that-
And again, I'll remind the court, Mr. Kidd, Judge Johnson, I know the other commissioners are familiar with chapter 59 funds, but basically what that is asset forfeiture funds that are derived from criminal proceeds, basically. So you can't pay salaries with it. You do training, you can buy equipment, stuff for the jail, which is just for the jail. You can purchase those items, stuff of that nature. So,
okay,
and I always try to keep that chapter 59 account low. Because there are some of these grants that we write, they want to know how much you got in there.
okay.
So I don't believe I'm just sitting on it, because there might be opportunity to get a grant someday, and of course, it has
And it's tied in with the chapter 59.
$60,000 sitting in their account, and they're gonna ask for why aren't you spending the money?
Okay,
So it's just not a good idea to sit on those funds.
here, once we get, here you go, Clint. I think all the commissioners have read this.
Do I? It's the asset forfeiture fund.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Questions?
But I,
You said this was separate from the.
no, this is gonna be paid out of the asset. forfeiture. So if they consider and ask and approve it. would be
I don't think
paid.
none of these are in the payables either.
It's separate.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I need to present it to them, and then however y'all do it after.
Okay,
Next.
Y'all have any
Jim?
questions on-
Do you want to approve each one individually? Is that what you're wanting to do? Or do you want to do them as a whole?
As a whole, fine.
Okay.
But it's prepared to do it, not pay for it, right?
Do what?
It's approved, it's, yes,
Approve
it's
the
approved to
purchase,
take
but
the
it'll
purchase
still have
out
to
of
come
chapter
out.
59.
Correct.
That still have to be in accounts payable.
Yes,
next time. Okay. We gonna make a motion?
well, he's gonna do them all.
Them all? Okay, excuse me.
All right. Anybody, red, white, and blue, that's for another rifle. We've got another employee coming up with.
Okay.
Certifications, the Johnson's Gun Work. Now $3,339.98, what that is, it's flash suppression. And we're seeing a lot of things, or especially these, God forbid we have that issue, with active shooters getting inside buildings and stuff like that. When you deploy a rifle inside a building and you have to discharge that rifle, it's pretty brutal. More especially at night. The flash, if you're shooting at night, which we do some night fire off and on, if they get in an event. Thank goodness recently, Deputy Sandlin, it's been several months back, was involved in a shootout there south of town, and luckily he didn't get hit and didn't have to shoot at anybody, but it turned out, better to the end. So it's kind of a tactical move on that part. So we got. Two vortex deals here. Both of them each is $1,112.97. We're going to go on some of the other rifles. Is that all y'all got?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, three items, separate items, Johnson Gunworks, Vortex, and red, white, and blue.
Okay.
But also the Guardian one.
Yeah, we added that one. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Only
Is that like
question,
scopes?
Uh,
Is that like scopes on the Vortex?
Yes.
Scopes.
So. Those are long range. scopes.
and so when it's billed on there, it says Mills County Sheriff's Office, Williams Allenhorn.
Yeah, that's-
his name on there,
Well, he does all of our range training and stuff.
so it's gonna be.
So sometimes he calls. And sometimes he'll order if it's on special, and then we'll reimburse him. But
It's
I think
billed
this
to the
is
sheriff's office, but it's just got his name on there.
right, and of course, he's a deputy force and does all our firearms training and stuff, so. He's the one that keeps up with all the firearms, the training, ammunition and stuff there.
So only other question I have is on January 9th, Commissioner's Court that I was not at, they approved a 308 and a 6.5 Creedmoor with $468 and $437 respectively. And there's on this one, it's a 6.5 Creedmoor for $1,200.
What you pre-approved was ammunition. This is for the actual gun.
I don't think that's what it said.
Should have been to. Precision Delta.
I don't remember. I guess maybe said it in.
Or if I could get those out for that price, I'd buy them.
Well, that's what threw me off. It says it is Precision Delta, but it doesn't, it just says that you're buying guns is what it says.
Yeah,
It
but it's
doesn't
it's
say anything.
ammunition, that's our ammunition vendor.
That clarifies it. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
So does that mean our minutes from January 9th need to be amended?
No, not that, I mean, it just approved the accounts payable, and those are two things that were in it. But that, he's saying that Precision Delta for ammunition, not guns.
okay,
I was that, or, you know, 400 versus 1,200, I was like,
I'll be buying.
I was like, why didn't you buy 6 of them?
Yeah,
okay.
And so that brings us a grand total. What was that other one? 5,000? 48 plus 56.
The Guardian was 4861.
That's 10,500. It's some change. Is there enough in that account?
yeah, they're
16,000 sitting there right now.
I
Okay,
make a motion that we approve the law enforcement to use the chapter 59 funds as presented in 4 receipts that he presented the board.
okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Williams regarding the chapter 59 funds. We got a second by Commissioner Head. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Thank you, Sheriff Hammond. Okay, number 20, consider an act on allowing Judge Johnson to use personal property in the office. I have brought into my office a personal desk, 3 personal chairs. There's a Western print and there's assorted picture frames. And this is a procedure that we need to do if anybody brings in personal office furniture or whatnot into the courthouse, is my understanding. Correct, Commissioner Williams?
So it's really to cover CYA
Yeah,
when you leave office and you're not carrying that desk out. and putting
that's
it in
right.
your car.
We don't even
So-
think I'm taking county property, so.
So I make a motion that we approve the personal property list for Judge Jet Johnson.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Williams. Do I hear a second? A second by Commissioner Wright. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Number 21, considering act on new EMS building. I don't know there's that much we need to do. If you have any questions, you talk to Guy. The slab is finished, framing and sheet metal is going up right now, even as we speak.
And there's a couple things we did.
Yeah, we got a
We
little
had
change
2
order.
change orders, and the 2 change orders is that on the room that we added on the south end of the building, which was to be, if we needed to, a communications or whatever, we added a exit door on the back side because that room was,
Yeah.
only had one door in and one door out, no windows, no nothing. So we added an exit door on that. And then the door going into the bays, right? Yes. The doors going into the bays is going to be a 48-inch door instead of a 36-inch.
Do we need the motion to approve all these changes,
I
Jason?
don't know how that works. To be honest with you, I guess that's different from the price difference we haven't seen yet. So he's gonna work that up.
As I understand, in the proposal, the original proposal was approved by the court. If there are change orders in it, then each of the change orders will be approved by.
So yes, I will be getting those and we'll have to present them, but I don't know what the amount is.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
just to FYI on those.
But the one door is already on.
Sure. And again, we have this every 2 weeks, consider an act on new EMS buildings, just in case there's anything we need to do. Commissioners,
Just for, just a quick
Yeah.
update, the framing, siding, all should be up. Probably by the end of the week, we'll be given until next week. And then next will be, spray foam. And they're doing the entire thing, all of the bay and
Sure.
everything. So it'll take about 2 weeks for that. And then the next step will be to do a walkthrough and lay out the walls.
okay, okay. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, Guy, thank you. Okay, number 22, Commissioners' requests and reports. Commissioner Wright?
Precinct 1, we've been working on county roads 505, 506, 510, and 512. We're hauling some material out of the pit, pretty, and the cars. I thank, Commissioner Pardon for reusing the Mack truck right now. And, it's saved us a lot of problems. It's, hauled a lot of materials in a hurry.
That's a county truck.
That's
Yeah.
correct. That's correct, but it's.
I don't know why you're thinking that's a county truck.
But it's a county. But I do appreciate letting me take a dip into his.
Okay,
I'm gonna take off a couple days, gotta go to take Betty Ann to Cotton White for some tests, and she has to have a driver, so I'm gonna be doing that. And that's about all I have.
okay, thank you, Commissioner Wright. Commissioner Head?
Of course, I had to go to school previous week, very educational.
Yeah.
Probably, learned a lot and, it was, pretty, like you said, pretty educational. My guys, they were, shred brush and everything, while we had the shredder going. Last Wednesday, we took a road, took a look around, where was it Wind Castle Gap or what?
Wind Castle Gap.
Yeah. And visit with them, have them to, do a few other things that they didn't particularly want to do, so we had them we needed a few other things done. They got pretty much everything topped. We, not really sure 4 inches, but either way, that's what they claim it is. And, stuff like that, and then that's about all we did,
Okay,
when running the shredder.
okay, thank you, Commissioner Head. Commissioner Parton?
Basically, well, I guess starting last week, it, helped Jason them haul of the base material we got over at Mullen, and then his guys helped me, and then they had to go back to work for him, so we talked about about 3/4 of a mile of dirt road on County Road 134, got it worked in, got it watered down. Hopefully we'll get some rain, water it some more.
Okay. Commissioner Williams?
So that was, correct me if I'm wrong, that was already paid for material, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Again, same thing, Dale, we helped each other out a couple weeks ago. It was nice. We got a lot done. I thought working together. Then I hauled material to 417. We trimmed trees also on 417. Most of this was all done in the corn orchard off of 417. We removed a lot of sand in certain places on 523 and 417. Took it out of the roadway. Also met with Justin Reyes that was here earlier this morning from TxDOT. And y'all are gonna see it, and I just wanted to mention it. And Clint, you might have seen these, I don't know, but I did not know what they were. We're putting up 2 signs on County Road 430 that goes down to Jones Valley, where the rock quarry is. As soon as you come off the highway, there's a bridge there. It's 20 foot long. Gerald, this goes to your home down there.
Always imagine it for free.
Yeah. And so we're putting up a sign that says emergency vehicle weight limit sign. I said, well, what's that mean? But anyway, it's axles 33,500, tandem 48,000, and gross 67. So if your axles are on that bridge and you're over 60,000 pounds, then they're letting you know that that bridge could break. And so they're letting the emergency vehicles know that there's no weight limit on the bridge. There's just an emergency vehicle weight limit that could possibly happen. I understand that. But this sign is huge. It's bigger than any sign that we got. I asked him if the sheriff is supposed to be, because that's a bunch of rock people come down that road. And I said, is he gonna have to ticket people? And he goes, oh no, this is just so emergency vehicles know that there's a weight problem on this bridge. I don't know. That's what I asked. It said, except for the water truck, the tanker. Well, if you had the tanker, but both the truck and the trailer, because it's only a 20-foot bridge, they won't be on it at the same time. So anyway, you're probably going to get some phone calls in your office. just warning you when I put this sign up. This is a federal guideline because the TxDOT took federal money and they are going to be looking at different bridges in their system, and we all could be getting these bridges to put up. I have to take a before and after pictures and put this up.
Okay. How long do you think that sign's gonna stay there?
It's huge. It'd make a good target practice sign, I promise you. And if he's an attorney, I don't know about it. But the other side, so I asked him.
It is.
So I asked him, I said, can we just take the bridge out? So he says, well, we'll have to go to the same thing that he was talking about today, the bridge system that we're in. Well, we were thinking of putting culverts under it, 48-inch culverts, widen it, and just take it. But if it's 20 foot long, it's a bridge that's in TxDOT system, just FYI, guys. So you're going to see this bridge. I think another bridge is probably going to be on 411 that they may get, and that's over there by Mike.
Mike's right.
That little short one that they redid. And you're going to see that one. And I think isn't it the one off of Bulls Creek Road? Is there one down there, Mike? So those two bridges right there. But anyway, new guy at TxDOT, he's full force going. So Gerald. Big old sign to aim at.
Be careful.
What he does respond to your phone call.
Yes, yeah. The other one is just to let you know and let the sheriff's department know, they are fixing to replace the bridge on the Pecan Bayou on 574. We had heard that they weren't going to replace it, and now they're going back to replace it. Gerald, Merry Christmas. And so you're going to love this name. Acme Bridge Company.
The Roadrunners in charge.
But anyway, they are going to do one lane at a time. They're going to have a red light stopping people and stuff, but doesn't know. He said for sure, they didn't know for sure, but it could be as long as a 5-minute wait before crossing the bridge.
It was like that.
I didn't know there was that much traffic on that road, but I guess there is to wait 5 minutes. So at a time, but just to let you know, Sheriff, and the way it sounded, it's going to start real quick. So, I don't know if you want to reach out to text. Anyway, but it's gonna be a new bridge. And I asked him if it was like the one up around Aspermont and Guthrie. I don't know, you've probably been over it summer. They've been working on it for 4 years now. Did one lane at a time, working, and so I'm scared this is gonna be a long process doing one lane at a time, so just FYI to report.
We're gonna advertise that on our webpage.
We can, it's a text dot issue, but yeah, I think that's great. We can advertise that. I can get it added to the webpage. Anyway, that's all of my report.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Williams. And Judge's report number 23, as Robert alluded to earlier, we're both down in College Station for a county commissioner, new judges seminar that we discussed jail issues, county road issues, legal questions, records retention, court procedures. I'm just on and on. It's a very good conference. I think Robert would agree to. Also, I've been Cody McCon contacted me from Mills County Appraisal Board. Jason Garlick has resigned and taken a new job somewhere else. So we're in the process soon of taking some names. She said she wants some names as soon as possible to be appointed to the Mills County Appraisal Board.
By the way, he is the president of the board and he's our representative. So.
Yeah, he was the president of the board. That's right. So anyway, we'll hopefully next commissioners court meeting have some names and go up that. And last thing I have Senior Citizen Center, back to it. Great group of people working there. We want to thank all the volunteers and whatnot. They do 35 to 45 meals a day and plus deliver 20 meals on wheels daily. So great community center. Of course, we rent it out for all kinds of functions. And that is all I have. Number 24.
Make a motion, we adjourn and go eat lunch.
Motion been made, Commissioner Williams. I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye. Yeah. Thank you, everybody.